Hi, so we're here with the Mensahs, Denzel Mensah, who I call Sir D's, is my life coach, and we have Mrs. Mensah, in other words, Jamila Mensah. And I just wanted to interview them because, like, what I do is, like, I go interview people about married couples or dating couples, about how they met, and just learn about love in my single life, and also so other singles can learn about what love really is. So I just wanted to interview you both.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, so the first question, I want to go through like how you guys met and everything, but first I want to talk about your single lives a little bit. And I was wondering, what was God teaching you in your singleness? And what flaws did he have to work out in you first? For both of you.
You always go first.
So I think what he was teaching me, which you'll kind of see the fruit of once we get to like how me and Denzel started off, was that I really was always leading guys on. And so honestly, that was the main thing. Like, God eventually just convicted me, like, you can't just be stringing guys along. I had no intention of being with them, had no intention of marrying them. So that was like the main thing that he was teaching me, that I said, like, by the time I met Denzel, it was just kind of like, okay, I can't do that anymore. And Denzel and I met freshman year of college, so I didn't really have a period in my adulthood where I was like single necessarily. So I think that my singleness will look different than other adults who are single because, like I said, Denzel and I, we were together since like the beginning of college. And so my only experience is like middle school and high school. Some people don't even count, those relationships as legitimate relationships. So, yeah.
I do.
Well, that's good. I feel like people just do that because they're embarrassed. Like, if you had a boyfriend or girlfriend in 10th grade, you had a boy, it's okay.
No,
Commitment.
we were young. That doesn't count. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Old school. Okay, so the same question for you, Denzel. What was God teaching you in your singleness, and what flaws did he have to work out in you first?
I think potentially, I was always doing that whole thing of like amelioration. So like even while I was like single, like I was very focused on, okay, I was focused on like interpersonal dynamics, and I still am. But like I was watching all of these shows, and it wasn't even intentional, but I just happened to observe couples and observe couples, whether they're in real life, whether they're in books, whether they were in shows or movies, and seeing everything that makes them not work and everything that makes them level up. And I would observe these things, and then I'd be like, okay, and I'd take mental note of it, And whenever, like, even now, like, me and Jamila will, like, watch shows like Blackish or something, and Dre is, like, such a, in my opinion, like, sometimes a horrible husband. And I just cringe because I focused so much on what a bad romantic partner would be, that I go straight to Jamila. I'm like, ugh, I would never say something like, I would never do something like that to you. Like, oh, I would never say something like this to you. Like, oh, so like, whatever. And Jamila knows all of this already. So it's even gotten to the point where like, she'll like joke around and be like, you wouldn't? And it's like, well, duh, Denzel. But it's like, to me, because growing up, I focused so much on that kind of stuff, and like making sure like, okay, know how to speak to your partner with the proper tone, know how to own up to mistakes when you mess up, all of that. Then it just all of a sudden just grew into this like, okay, yeah, I think this is how I'm going to treat my romantic relationships whenever I get into them. And I really just focused on the whole idea of make sure that you become the one before you start looking for the one. So I wanted my romantic partner to have like very little to no problems with me, and yeah. So those are like some of the lessons that I would say that I was learning in my singleness, like really focusing on how to work as a team and keep that relationship afloat, um, and also how to know what type of partner to look for.
Okay, you took like a studious approach, I see.
Yeah.
Also, question number 2 is, how did you both first meet? That's one of the biggest questions. And what was your first impression of each other, Miss Mensah?
So why are you laughing? So we like officially met. So we officially met in the lobby of our dorm, or my dorm. And I thought that he was goofy. To paint the picture, I was sitting with a friend of mine and we were working on homework, and he and his friends were in the lobby playing a game where like you put a ball back and forth, but the ball doesn't actually exist. And my friend threatened to call the cops on them. She was just playing, but Denzel, in his sweetness, came over and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And so, yeah, that was kind of, and then like I had kind of spoken to him before on the bus, like he had let me have his seat or whatever. But yeah, like I just thought he was guilty, but I thought he was really sweet because like he just did not want to get in trouble and make a bad impression and everything like that. And I thought he was really friendly. After he my friend's name was Eunice. After that whole thing with Eunice happened, he started talking to me, and it was just like an easy conversation. We're just like, oh, like we should hang out sometime. And I knew at that moment he was feeling me, and so yeah.
I think it's because she's conceited.
It doesn't matter.
I could have just been friendly.
You definitely found me attractive.
So remember when, so she says that I let her sit down on the bus. At that moment, did you think so? Because I don't even remember when I had her do that. I believe it, of course, but I don't remember offering my
Here's the
seat to her on the
thing.
bus.
I just naturally assume guys, especially black guys, are attracted to me.
Exactly.
But so I didn't think that was yeah, and I said that doesn't mean that I didn't, like that doesn't really mean anything. But just because you let me sit down on the bus, that wasn't me thinking that you liked me. I just thought you were attractive. But when she started talking to me in the lobby, I was like,
yeah.
So he just introduced you after his friends were playing some weird game of a ball that didn't exist, and he was just like, oh, I hope I'm not bothering you. That was just hospitable, but weird at the time.
Yeah, like he was really sweet and everything. None of his other friends came over.
Yeah, I think they actually continued to play. That was pretty much what happened. We had paper cups and then we fold the bottom, and we had a penny, and then we would throw the penny up, and we would like pretend that we were playing like ping pong except with the paper cups, and people were so confused because they thought that we were actually hitting the penny back and forth, but in reality we were flicking the paper cup each time that we would swipe. Yeah, so it was very fun to me. Like it was funny because we were getting like really into it. Like we were like jumping on couches and stuff. Look out! Look out! You know, people were like, "Oh my gosh, how are they doing that?" And we do it on the bus and everything. So yeah, it was fun to act like we were actually serious. But Eunice, her ISTJ friend, was not a fan of that, and was like, she was like, this like big woman too. So she was like, okay, like I don't know, it was like intimidating for me. She was like, I'm calling the police, like I'm calling LUPD. It's my freshman year in college, my first semester at that. So I'm like, oh shoot, my parents are African, freshman year at college. I don't know what she was like, yeah, like I have connections with the police or whatever. I didn't need to get in trouble. So yeah, I went to her and I'm like, hey, first of all, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that, like I thought everybody else was being entertained, which they all were, but I guess she wasn't. And so I was like, in that case, like, yeah, we'll stop. Like, in fact, I've stopped. They're continuing to go. So if you call the police, just don't do it on me. And she was laughing from a distance, and I'm like, oh. And so then that's when like I went to go and talk to her. And yeah, like she said, we just started talking about stuff, and then we added each other on Facebook. And I was like, oh, you sing? And I was like, well, I play the piano a little bit. Like, I want to hear you sing. And I thought that she was going to reject, to be honest. But she actually was like, okay. And I was like, oh, really? And yeah. And then we ended up actually like doing that. And there's a video out there of the first time that we were sitting down playing the piano. I had a horrible outfit. It's cringe to watch, but one day when there's enough distance from there, then I will probably go back and check it out again. But yeah, that was.
Oh, that's sweet. Questions for Denzel. And the next question would be from Miss Mensah. Okay, so what attracted you to Miss Mensah?
Energy, an aura, vibe.
The peace, tranquil.
Yeah.
But what kind of energy was it?
Well, yeah, I'm getting there.
Oh.
Yeah, it was, I guess, especially in comparison to what I was feeling from Eunice in the moment. I'm not saying that she has bad energy or anything, but in that moment, it was like thunder and rainstorm that I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I hear her laughing across the table, and I look over, and it's like this peaceful garden that was like, oh, I want to go over there. And so yeah, I went over there, and then as we were talking, it was like the energy was like really consistent. Like some people, they are, gentle or whatever, and then they end up like not being that way after you continue to talk to them. But she's like always been very sweet and gentle and kind-hearted. Even though she like yells at me, it's like never like real yelling. Like there's a meme where it's a cat. It's like a little kitten, and it's like turned around, and then someone like posted the caption, "Don't talk to me angry." And that's kind of how I see Jamila. but it's like, you can't, like, she's just so cute, and like even when she's like actually upset, like she's never like directly disrespectful to me. And so I appreciate and respect that about her. And that made me better be like, okay, like this is somewhere where we can have like communication, because we don't have the type of dynamic where it's like, all right, well, this, that. And then it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I was speaking from anger. What? Like, we both are pretty chill. We discuss things very openly, and yeah.
So that was so nice.
It was truthful.
Very nice. Okay, so Miss Mensah, your question is next, and it's how did he show interest? Okay, yeah. How did he show interest?
Talking to her.
I think, okay. Okay, so the thing that comes to my mind is something I didn't even know he was doing until afterwards. So we had like a group of friends. We were going to like this haunted house thing, and one of the girls in my hall, she was just like scared, and she was like clinging on to me the whole time. And so afterwards, I noticed that Denzel's energy had kind of shifted. I'm the type of person where I'm like, what's wrong? No, what's wrong? No, tell me, like, what's wrong? What's bothering you? And he wouldn't tell me. And then, but eventually I forced it out of him, and he's like, okay, let me tell you whatever. And so then that's when he told me that he was crushing me. But Oh, and that the connection is that it bothered him that she was clinging on to me the whole night at the haunted house, and he was wanting to be that guy for me. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm so scared, or whatever. So that was what'd you say?
So he could be the hero. Be like,
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, that was really the first time. Like I said, I didn't know that was his angle for the haunted house. I mean, I knew that he had a crush on me, but I didn't know that was like the thing until I really noticed an energy shift, and I'm like, wait, what's wrong? And it just really bothered him that the girl just had me all to herself, and he wanted me all to himself. So
I'm surprised that he told you. Like, was so honest.
I forced him. I will admit that.
Oh, okay.
I usually don't tell anyone that I'm interested in them, even slightly, until one, I've gauged completely, like, because I don't want to tell someone that I'm interested, and then I get to know them more, and I'm like, oh, actually, I don't think I am. So I wanted to make sure, like, am I really interested in her, so that if I tell her and something does happen, then I will, like, that'll be, long term. So number one. And then number two, I like to run tests and simulations to make sure, like, okay, are they interested back in me? Because, some people, if you tell them that you're interested, then they're gonna, like, they can be a little bit like, oh man, now this is awkward, this, that. And it's like, oh man, I shouldn't have told you then. But then there's also people where, like, you tell them and they just may not even be interested, period, So I wanted to make sure that, okay, like, is she interested back before I tell her? But by this point, like, after that night, I figured that, like, she was thinking, like, I already know, just tell me, kind of thing. And then it was making me look emasculated in a way. And so, okay. And so I was like, you know what? No, like, I'm not going to text it. Like, come out of your dorm and I'll tell you to your face, so that whatever emasculation that's gone on for me trying to hide it, now I'm like regaining it back. So yeah, that's when I told her. But to my surprise, I'm like waiting for her to like say it back, and she's just like, oh, just kind of like what she did. It's like, oh, that's so cute, that's so sweet. And I'm like,
Why'd you do
this is usually the part in the script where you say it back, but I don't think, maybe she's shy too. And then I guess we'll see what happens from there.
Why'd you do that, Miss Mensah? Why'd you say it back?
Because I didn't like him.
No.
Yeah, she didn't. That was the thing.
Yeah, I just wanted, like I said, it was an energy shift, and I wanted to address the energy shift. I knew that he had a crush on me. I don't remember if I knew that was why there was an energy shift, though. Like, I didn't know that he really felt some type of way at the haunted house. But I just wanted him to say what was on his heart. And he told me that, and I was like, oh, true? Okay. So, yeah.
It's very flattering on your part, but on his part, it's a little empty,
Yes, exactly.
It's okay.
So the story goes on into number 4. Miss Mensah, the next 3 questions are for you.
Okay.
Miss Mensah, what made you change your mind about Denzel? I always say your name wrong. That's why I call you Sir D's.
Well, honestly, it was not really his persistence, but his persistence and his, I can't think of the word, but he really developed his maturity. He became more mature as I got to know him, and he was also persistent. And like I was saying before, in high school and everything, I was always leading guys on. With Denzel, by the time I got to college, I was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm telling these guys straight up, which I told Denzel all the time. This isn't going to be a thing. It's never going to be a thing. But we were still like the best of friends and everything. But yeah, like over time, Oh, and like I was expecting, you know, the fact that I didn't like him back, I was assuming that eventually he would just be like on to the next, because that's normally what people do. They're like, okay, she's not interested. But like, you know, days, weeks, months, years went by and he was still persistent, but not really like he was trying to get with me, but he was still like, you know, the closest person in my life. And I could see that he was like developing as an overall better person, better Christian, better man and everything. And I was like, oh shoot. But, you know, I look up and I could see myself walking down the aisle to this guy. No longer Mr. Ping Pong Man. So,
I'd
or
still
Penny
play
Pong
penny
Man.
pong.
No, but that's not what I saw in you.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Next question. Describe your first date when you were dating.
You know, I don't even know if we really had a real first date.
Yeah.
What? You don't remember?
What'd you say?
You don't remember, or you just don't count it as one?
I just don't think we really had a first date. Like, we just were always hanging out. It's not, we didn't really go anywhere fancy ever.
Oh.
None of us drove. We just would, like, you know, be at the school cafeteria or something.
Yeah, I think one of the only places that I remember eventually, I don't even remember when this exactly was, but like when we went to the ballroom place with the steak and all of that, and Ben had to pick us up. You remember that little hotel area?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't. Yeah, I feel like that was like one of the first times I took Jamila to like a fancy place.
Yeah,
But
that might have been like our 3-year anniversary or something.
Yeah, because I still didn't have a
Or
car yet.
Valentine's Day or something.
Yeah, I still didn't have a car yet, and
Was this in college?
yeah.
Okay.
But I was from New York, so we didn't drive. In fact, I literally just got my first car and license last year in June. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
City
what you said?
slickers. Those city slickers. They
Yeah.
can't drive.
Yeah, exactly. And so we always were going to eat at places and stuff, but I don't think that we'd like call it like a date. We were just like eating and talking and hanging out and stuff like that. Then we'd go to the practice rooms and play piano and, you know, sing and stuff like that. But yeah, we were just like always hanging out together, and just talking about stuff.
Okay. And last question for Miss Mensah for the moment. Mrs. Mensah, what attracted you most about Denzel then, and are those qualities still there in marriage? Like, you kind of went on that a little bit, but like qualities about him that were cool, and how are those qualities still there in the marriage?
Yeah, what I loved about him before is still what I love about him now, or most. It's just like his heart, and he just really loves people, and he really loves connecting with people, and that's something that like I noticed and I loved from the get-go, and it still like stands true now.
Kind of the extroverted and you're the introvertedness together.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't even say that the only like aspect of it, but yeah, that does have a lot to do with it, because I'm that way too at heart. Like, I like connecting with people and I like building relationships with people, but obviously he does it in a different way, and in a way that's a lot more like I guess noticeable. Like, yeah, everybody everybody knows that Denzel is a friendly, nice person. People might not know that about me, but
Okay. When they get to know you better.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is for the both of you. How did your spouse compare to the other relationships you had previously been in?
Well, for Denzel, he's saved, and that's why I wasn't really trying to get with anybody else before, because they weren't saved. They were just keeping me company. And so that's like the main thing.
That's a big one.
Yeah, like because like my face is like the center of everything that I am and everything that I do. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I ever really thought about this in depth. I think that he does have a heart for people that my exes didn't necessarily have. I don't know.
What
I'm
about
gonna think about that more.
what about integrity? Is his integrity different than your ex's?
What? How would you define integrity? Just so I know.
How do I say? Want to do the right thing, and does the right. People aren't looking, whether people are looking or not, doing the right thing.
Yeah, I could say that. I think I think in the beginning it was because he was scared to go to hell, but yeah, like I said, the other guys weren't saved and like they were doing pretty much whatever they wanted to do in terms of like morality, I guess. But like they were still good guys, like they were really good guys. So yeah.
Okay, your turn to answer the question, Sardis. How did your spouse compare to the other relationships you have previously been in?
Oh, I thought of something else that is important. We connected, and even more than just like people in general, like just on a like mental level. That like I said, I didn't really connect with the other guys as much, let alone, and I don't really connect with that many people on that mental level the way that I was with Denzel. Like we said, we were hanging out all day, every day, and it was great all the time. We always had things to talk about and everything like that. So yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, it was funny too. Like we liked to laugh a lot. So like that's why I was like, yeah, like when you get to know Jamila, like she's actually a clown. Like she's really like funny and everything. And then it's like me and her switch a lot because it's like you can definitely tell like she's the perceiver for sure because she'll just like all of that, and then you'll tell that like I'm the judger because I'm like organized and composed a lot of times. But then we'll switch again because then it's like, okay, sometimes you can also tell like, okay, but I'm the extrovert because now I'm the one who's like, hey, talking to everyone, versus like her being the introvert where it's like, so it's almost like we're meeting like a middle ground of some sort. But to answer your question, coincidentally, and of course I didn't know about type until maybe like a year after me and Jamila met, and actually her and my friend David are the ones who introduced me to type. But about 90 to even 95% of my exes were ESFP. And so that was very interesting when I learned about type and I looked back over my history and I was like, crap, like all these people were like ESFP with the exception of a few of them. And Jamila is ISFP. So it's
what's the title of ESFP? Is that like the doer, the
performer?
Oh, that's my cousin. Okay, like Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. Well, I actually think that Marilyn Monroe is ISFP. So yeah, but ISFP and ESFP, as I'm sure you know, like they could look very similar. Especially when they're like, more matured. Like you always tend to look like your introverted, extroverted counterpart once you're more matured and everything. And so that was very interesting to me because I start to think about things like, I wonder if all along when I was like being attracted to these ESFPs, I was actually looking for an ISFP because that's the one that kind of like stuck. Like where for them, they're way more of a perceiver than ISFPs are because they lead with extroverted sensing, whereas the ISFP has extroverted sensing as their second function. So they're more like they have a harder time focusing. Their introverted intuition is last in their function stack, whereas like for me it's second, for Jamila it's third. So I would bring up NI topics, and then they kind of showed interest a little bit, and they'd like just move on to like the next thing. Like, so there wasn't as much depth there. What'd you say?
Short attention span.
Yeah, their attention spans were like really like not as good, but they were funny. So like they made me laugh, and them having extroverted sensing as a dominant function, I have it as a third one. So I tried to level with them there. Like they brought that side out of me a little bit more. But I think it's better with Jamila because she has it as a second, so it's closer to where mine is. And it's like she doesn't bring out so much from me where it's like now I'm not looking like myself, because then they themselves would like tell me things like, yeah, Denzel, this just isn't you. Like, this doesn't look good on you. Like, that whole goofy, loud, boisterous, it's not really you. Like, you're more of the, like, one of them literally said, like, yeah, you're, like, more of, like, the wise guy, you know, that's, like, giving advice and this, that. Not that I can't play around, but they could just tell that, like, I was overdoing it just to, like, I guess, like, fit in and stuff. So there's that. But, yeah, with Jamila, like what she said with the mental level thing, like she could really like sit down and listen to me. And for a long time, like with my exes, a lot of times I felt like they they weren't they weren't really as interested. Like they kind of like feigned a little bit more interest in what they really had and the things I wanted to talk about. And because I caught that, then I just kind of like push whatever I actually wanted to talk about to the side. Whereas with Jamila, there was even a time where we were hanging out, and then out of nowhere, Jamila was like, I like this version of you more. And I didn't even notice that pretty much what had happened was that I was actually presenting my true self to her, and not an overly playful, overly boisterous, overly loud kind of demeanor to like try and entertain. Because I always, and it's not to like make, you know, like make it seem like, oh, I'm so like me kind of thing, but I just always was under impression that I'm boring.
What you wanted.
What?
I thought you're. Oh, I thought you. I thought you were about to say that's the impression that's what women wanted, as someone to entertain them.
Pretty much that too. Yeah. So because I always thought that I was boring, then it's like, okay, I need to be like more boisterous. I need to be more outgoing. I need to like have a little bit more of this. And I was extra in that sense. But then with Jamila, it's like I'm doing this, and that's not what was getting to her. So it's like, well, I know that you don't really want to sit down and talk about the stuff that I'd be thinking about and pondering. And she's like, actually, I do. I'm like, really? And she really like would listen. She's still like that, like to this day. Like we're always sitting at the table, or you know, like in bed, or like we go out to eat or whatever, and she listens to everything that I'm saying, and I just listen to everything that she says, and it's really good. And I know that like with my exes, they would not have been as interested in that sense. I did actually date an INFP, and she was actually very, very similar in that sense though. Like I think that she was like definitely one of the like not if one like not one of like just the top caliber like X, I guess, you know, because we had like a really great dynamic in that sense too. And she actually like really like listened and all of that. And she reminded me of my younger sister, my INFP younger sister too. So
Team
what'd you say?
Team INFP.
Right. Yeah, but aside from her, the others, they were all good people, and I'm still cool with like all of them. Like one of them, one of them just had a birthday recently, and we're on really good terms. And another one, you know, me and her talk frequently and everything. And Jamila knows all of them too, and so it's like we know our dynamics. I don't really have like a relationship with my exes where it's like I can't talk to you anymore. Like, you know, like, and we ended off on a sour note. They They all left because something more interesting was out there for them. So it's just like, okay. And then I was afraid that she was going to eventually do the same thing for a long time. So,
Oh, that was a really good answer to the question. I appreciate it. Okay, this next question for Sardis. This is question number 8.
all right.
Marriage how has marriage changed the both of you? And even in dating, did you quickly learn of things you could not get away with? You kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah. How has marriage changed the both of you? Okay, I'll answer that one first. So I've always been really high on self-awareness, or tried my best to be. But something that I learned recently was as self-aware as you are, you're still growing as a person. And so no matter how self-aware you were 2 days ago, 2 days later, you are not necessarily a completely different person, but you have expanded more. You know, it's kind of like a house where it's continuously under construction and there's more rooms continuing to be added. So you go to sleep and you wake up and it's like, oh wow, there's overnight y'all added 5 more rooms to this house. So even though you know this house inside out, there's 5 more rooms that you have to become familiar with. So then you start exploring these rooms and then you go to sleep again. It's like, okay, I've explored 3 out of the 5 rooms today. Tomorrow I'm gonna explore the last 2. You wake up and there's 7 more rooms. And it's like, whoa. So now you have to like constantly, be exploring these rooms because you're constantly growing. And I think that the younger me, I for some reason thought stupidly that, oh, these rooms aren't growing as rapidly and maybe not even growing at all. Like not that I know everything there is to know about myself, but I'm very familiar with this house, very familiar with all of the rooms here. So I don't really have to try to like, work harder when we get into marriage to like learn about all of these other rooms. But as soon as you get married, it's like if every day you woke up and there's 5 different rooms added on to your house, figuratively, when you're married, it's like 10 different rooms every day, because now it's like, whoa, she's like showing different, she's like bringing sides of me to the table that like, oh wow, I didn't know was there. Or now I'm like starting to grow these things. And then especially like as a Christian, where it's like a lot of times you've avoided thinking about certain things about yourself and accepting certain things about yourself. Thankfully, like I've grown to a position now where like, and I made a video about this called like the 4 categories of Christianity on my channel, something like that. Like I made it. God bless you, and God bless you, and God bless you. I made it to a place. You only did it twice this time. Okay, to a place where I can really focus on just learning more about myself as a Christian, and then not in a bad way, but like, who am I without the Christian values? And then kind of like in knowing these sides of myself, I also then know how to address them as opposed to just completely avoiding them. And before I used to just completely avoid them. So thankfully, with being with Jamila and everything, it's like, okay, she actually helps me a lot to like be more like honest with myself. And when self-aware, because she asks a lot of questions, and then it's like, and I have to like really get to know myself more and like, understand the image, the accurate image that I'm giving to her, so that way she can like keep a consistent tab on who I am as a person. That way, if somebody else tries to come and tell her who I'm not, then it just won't work, And so that and I appreciate that honesty too, because, you know, there's a lot of people who they might learn about themselves, but then they're afraid to talk to their partner because their partner can like leave them, or like their partner can judge them, or all of these other things. But like, Jamila and I have like, and I was definitely afraid at like many points, but like we've like grown consistently to a point where it's like, okay, this is really just who I am. And these are the things I'm working on. These are things I have worked on. This is the stuff that I'm still trying to figure out about myself, but I'm just putting it all out here. But what you need to know is at the core, this is what it is. And because she knows my core so well, and I've shown her consistency with my core, then the things that grow around it, whether I'm mowing those weeds or whether I'm planting more seeds, she's able to keep up to speed with it. And yeah, I really appreciate that about her.
Bars. Okay.
Okay. And the same question for you, Ms. Mensah. How has your marriage changed the both of you? And even in dating, did you quickly learn of things you could not get away with? That's more of a to a guy question you could not get away with. How's that?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question and then answer the first one. I think something that I can't really get away with as much. It's almost like because now Denzel has brought it to my attention where I didn't really realize it before. Was two things. One, it's the way that I present myself to people. I still kind of don't care that much, but I'm more aware and sensitive of it now. And two, my tone, especially when I'm talking to Denzel, I just, it's a work in progress.
She's gotten way better.
Thank you, Denzel. Those are like the two main things that, yeah. And then what I learned about, what did you say?
And how has marriage changed you?
Oh, how has marriage changed me? I think like Denzel, and I think pretty much any married couple would say this, you really do just become more self-aware because now you're not looking at yourself just through the lens of yourself. You're looking at yourself through the lens of your partner, and you're looking at yourself for your partner as well. And so it's like, oh shoot, this is how I might be coming across, or this is maybe, I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just honestly, it's just more self-awareness and understanding myself more through Denzel's eyes as well as my own. Like, oh, okay, I'm thinking this or I'm feeling this or whatever. How will this translate, or how I'll be able to communicate this to Denzel? Yeah, that's like the main thing that comes to mind right now.
Okay. Question number 9. We're almost done. What areas of life, this is more of a quick question. In what areas of life is God leading this marriage? Either one you can answer, and you can just add on the next one.
You say, what area is he leading this marriage?
Leading this marriage. And what is God leading this marriage into?
I think both of us are just really focused on influence, to be honest, self-awareness and influence. I think that I really feel like we do a great job, again, like with growing with each other, because I again, like when I was younger, I saw a lot of the things that broke a lot of couples up, or they had a lot of problems with, which is like, one partner is growing in one area, but the other partner wants to remain stagnant, or just refuses to budge in that. But whenever I'm growing, then, and I present like, hey, these are the extra rooms that have been added to my house. Is that all right with you, kind of thing? Jamila's always like, oh yeah. And she walks through those rooms with me to better understand them. And then from doing that, it's like, oh, wow, look at this, thing here in this room. I wonder if we can bring that outside of the house, like other places, how useful it would be to them, kind of thing. And so it's like she's helping me find things in myself to help other people in the world who may not be as self-aware or as good at being able to like keep up with all the rooms in their lives. And so it's like, okay, well, let me just provide the stuff that you may already have in you, but you, for whatever reason, can't navigate inside of you to find. So there's that. And then I also feel like, like we're both really strong on art. And yeah, it's really like just influence because we feel like we've been blessed with a lot of self-awareness and a lot of great communication skills between each other that because we're blessed with it, then we should bless other people with how to do this. And that's not to say, of course, cliche phrase, nobody's perfect kind of thing, but it's like, it's true. Like we're not perfect. Like we definitely like have like our problems that we have to like, approach and everything. But I think that one thing that I really do like is how we approach the problem each time, like consistently. We always approach it with the level head. We always, try to get to the core of it. We always try to avoid hurting the other person's like feelings unnecessarily, but while still being about the situation, owning up to things. Like I'm not afraid to apologize when I've done something wrong. And I always like try to like own up to it and everything. And like I said, like it's really like teaching us also like transparency too, and helping us to value relationships and connections like with people, and having other people like value connections and relationships with each other.
Cool. Maybe in the future there'll be marriage counseling sessions.
Oh yeah, we're after we get some more under our belt, then
Yeah.
sure.
Number 10.
Really,
Miss, why are you grateful for your husband?
Oh, why am I grateful for Denzel?
are you sure that question was for you?
Denzel, are you gay?
No, I'm kidding.
Why am I grateful for Denzel? I'm grateful for Denzel because he's patient with me.
That's a big.
Yeah, it is, and I can't talk long because I'm a cry. But I'm sorry. I'm like trying to figure out what to say. He's patient with me, and I'm grateful because we're really similar, and so we have a lot of like avenues of connection, and he's really kind and nice, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
Life now.
Denzel, you won't cut. Denzel, if anybody cuts somebody, it'll be me cutting you. You wouldn't cut me.
Yeah.
Jamila said that I was always a teddy bear, and now I'm like, as of recent years, I've become a teddy bear.
Oh
with a
yeah.
knife. And so it's to hear that she still thinks kind and nice, because it's like, okay, that knife hasn't completely like taken over.
No.
I've become more assertive over the past few years with when people were.
Yeah, Denzel just has become more mean.
Or straightforward.
I prefer mean.
Question for Sir D's. Why are you grateful for your wife?
I'm very grateful for her because, again, like she said, she has an incredible amount of patience. Like for me to like she has an incredible amount of patience, which that makes me feel secure with her. Because again, like I'm very focused on self-awareness, and I want people to know me, but there's things about me also that like, I'm not proud of it, and I'm working on it, and there's so many people who may not even be friends, people who are friends, who like they can like find out things, and then all of a sudden they like really lay on the shame, you know? But then it's so nice that I can present things to my wife at that, things that I could present to like a friend or, you know, someone who's not a friend or whatever, and then they'd like complete like judge me for it, but I can present it to Jamila and she will be like, okay, like dang, that does kind of suck, but I know that you actually are this way, and this is not really a reflection of who you are. And in fact, let's figure out why this is happening, kind of thing. Like let's move this past us. This is actually what made me want to be with her in the first place. Because long story short, there was a girl in the past in my freshman year who falsely accused me of sexual assault. Yeah, so this is like really like left field, but like she like really like she was jealous of Jamila, and she really and Jamila didn't even like me at this point, but she was jealous of Jamila because I liked Jamila even though Jamila didn't like me, and I didn't like this girl back. And so she was like flirting with me, stuff like that. And at one point, like I did give in, as in like we didn't even like make out or anything, but like there was just like touching going on with clothes on and stuff. But it was like literally like about a minute max. And then I was like, I'm sorry, like I can't do this. Because she said something along the lines of, you know, this is only gonna make me like you more. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm leading you on. Like, I can't do this. I like Jamila, whatever. She's like, okay, no, I understand, well, but it's okay. And like I said, it's a long story. So fast forward, she actually reported me to the school. The school was talking about suspending and expelling me. And I'm like, crap, like what the heck? I thought that me and her were cool. Like, why is she lying about this kind of thing? And we went to a Christian university, so like we're harder on stuff. Like you're lucky to be able to hold hands, you know, let alone like, oh, you grabbed her butt kind of things. Like, you know, it's like dang. And I understand like, wow, like I messed up in that regard. But yeah. So anyway, then fast forward, she reported me to the police. And then I got arrested, and then I had to bail myself out. It was a really yeah, there was a lot that happened with it. But during this time, my ex had like, you know, caught wind of it. And I told her about the situation and everything. And and like Jamila was aware of the situation too in the court date. And what they were in the dark about was that something actually did happen. Like I said, it was like a minute, but it was consensual. And like I said, like it wasn't even anything like that much. So finally, so at first they were under the impression that she's just like, accusing me with like no grounds. But then I was like, no, there's a little bit of grounds, like there was touching or whatever. But I did not sexually assault her. I don't like her, whatever. And my ex was trying to get back with me. But when I told her about that, like, okay, there was a little bit of grounds thing, then she got pissed. And like, and she pretty much showed like colors that I did not know were there, and like very like indignant kind of thing. Like, do you know who I am? And like, I don't care about you. Like, you know, I don't know. It was just really like rude. And I was like, how could you treat me this way after all of what I've done for you and everything? And she was like, I don't care. I don't care. So I'm like, wow, okay. And then it just became a lot easier to like then be like, I think Jamila's actually the one out of these two that I really want. Especially because when I presented it to Jamila, I was expecting her to snap, but then like I started crying when I was explaining it to her, and then Jamila was like, hey, this is so much bigger than us. Let's focus on this, focus on that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what kind of woman is this?
Oh
and
God.
and she prayed, she called me every morning at 8:30 until the court date to pray for me. And I was like, what the crap, you know? And so the fact that to this day she still is like that, and she was one of the only people too who like from the jump was like, no, I know that he did not sexually assault her. Maybe something did, but Denzel is someone who's like, yeah, like I I cannot do something that's not true, kind of thing. And I own up to the things that I do wrong. I won't deny those things because I want people to value my honesty. And so with Jamila, like I've always tried to be like honest with her. Like if she asks me a question, like, yeah, this is what it was, whatever. That way, when I say no, it did not happen, she can know that, okay, he's telling the truth here because there's worse things, and yet he's owned up to that. So I would, so I really like that I can say such things to Jamila, and we can get to the core of things, and she will actually, like be there with me. So that security and consistency, I really, really value because then again, it makes me feel like, okay, this is someone that I can go the long term with. She's not going to just randomly up and leave. And I can be myself with her, and I can have the freedom to actually work on myself vulnerably in front of her and not fear that as I'm trying to work on getting better for her and for myself, that she's going to say something, see something, and leave before I can even get that fixed.
Yeah.
Plug.
Those are really good qualities, Miss Mensah. I'm just saying, like, so in other words, he called you his safe place.
Oh, yeah.
And that you have his back, and basically. So, yeah. Really cool. Okay, this is the last question, everybody. This is from Mrs. Mensah. What advice do you have for single women contemplating marriage?
That's funny because I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Honestly, and it's kind of one of those things where people can be like, well, of course you would say that. But like, just, how can I say this? Your goal in life is not to get married. And like, especially if you're a Christian watching this, like that is not the epicenter of like, oh, a fruitful Christian life. It's not marriage. And I want people to really get that. It's great to be married and it's great to want to be married, but I think it's in a way like that ideal can become an idol. And I want women to not feel like they have to, have this formula down pat so that a guy will find them worthy, or that so that they'll be worthy enough for marriage, or whatever, because that's literally, that's not the point of life. The point of life is not marriage. The point of Christian life is not marriage. And once again, it's probably like doesn't hold a lot of weight coming from a married woman, but and it's cliche to say this, but like really like hone in on your single. And like marriage is great for me and Denzel, but I'm sure that both of us have realized, oh, there are just certain things that we can't do or entertain or engage in because we're married. And so, obviously there are blessings and, advantages and disadvantages of any type of lifestyle. But just like, don't think that you're, I guess, more invaluable because you don't have that certificate or because you don't have that ring or whatever. Like your life is just as valuable and you can offer just as much to the world. And like I said, it's not bad to want marriage. I also don't like the myth of like, oh, you need to be, just focused on Christ and, a guy pursuing you. Like, no, like it's natural to have one, everything like that. So that's not what I'm saying either. I just don't want women to just feel, they're single preparation for marriage, because
Right.
that's not true, and that's not biblical, and that's not healthy. So, yeah.
Okay. And Sir Dees, what advice do you have for single men contemplating marriage?
I would say focus on your friends. Like, I think that's such a big thing. I think that we live in a culture, and I've been really trying to harp on this over the past couple of years. And I think that coincidentally, because I'm in a marriage now, then I have the right to be able to say that. You said that, oh, it's a married woman. Of course, people could be like, well, you're married, so of course you'll, hey, marriage is, like not the goal kind of thing.
The audio keeps going in and out for some reason.
Oh, can you hear me?
I hear a little better.
Okay, got you. Well,
Yes.
yeah. Well, pretty much, I think that it's really, really important to focus on your friends and to be able to understand that platonic dynamics are actually probably just as close enough or just as equally valuable to your romantic marriage dynamic kind of thing. Yes, sure, your family and your wife, your husband, they come first, for sure, for sure. But some people have such a huge chasm between the two, and you see it even in their singleness. Like, they have great friends, potentially great friends that they have around them, that they're not watering those seeds because I'm saving all of my water for my husband. I'm saving all my water for my wife. And then their friends that would be very great and would be supporting them with their marriage, they just start to wither away. And I feel like it's so important to live in a society that idealizes romantic dynamics so much more than platonic ones. And so even now as a married man and everything, and I love my wife. You okay? I love my wife and everything. I really focus on my platonic dynamics as well. Like, and it's not like, oh, everybody's my friend. Like, there's people like, and again, like, I talk about all of these concepts like on my page. Like, I made a video called like how to efficiently manage your social energy, and pretty much like I view myself as a source of water, and because I can't water everyone, then I have like a primary garden of people that I focus my energy towards. That way, like, it's like, okay, these are the people that produce the most fruit for me. And so it's a very beneficial relationship. And then with any excess water that I have after watering my primary garden, I take that out to like, outer skirts of that garden. But it's like my marriage, my intimates, and then everyone else kind of like falls below there. But like even then, like I still really focus and love on them. So yeah, to wrap all that up, my advice to like single guys is like really like learn how to appreciate your platonic relationships, because from there, that's also like people are watching how you treat your friends. If you don't even treat your friends well, who wants to marry you? Like you're like, people are watching how you treat your friends. And in fact, a lot of women, like, they'll see how you treat your friends, how you are with your guys, how you are with like other women that you're just platonic with, and they'll be like, wow, imagine how he'd be like to his wife. Now, don't do that just for like, okay, there's women watching kind of thing, because then that's kind of like defeating the purpose. But like, really learn to value your platonic dynamics and grow them and water them. And in doing that, I feel like you're also growing, of course, more in what God has provided for you. So grow to become what God wants you to be. Focus on those like shows, like how I did back in the past. Like, what things do you see this? What things did you see this couple on TV have problems with, that you can see, like, look at yourself and be like, okay, do I have this problem? How can I work on this before my partner even comes along? How can I work on this even with my friends? Ask your friends, like, hey, is there things even in our platonic dynamic? I mean, you probably wouldn't word it like that. Like, are there things even in our friendship that you've seen, like, maybe like I have a problem with, that I can fix? Your friendships are your practice ground, and I feel like the better that you hone in and grow those friendships, the better that your marriage will be one day. So that's my advice.
That was really good. Wow.
From friendship to future. Anyway, closing statements. Would either one of you have any closing statements you want to talk about while we wrap this up?
I think that was probably my closing statement.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, well, thank you so much for doing this with me. My first YouTuber audio thing, or maybe both.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Taking the time. It's been like, I don't know, maybe an hour. I lost track of time.
I did too.
But yeah, so thank you, and that's it. You can end the recording.